A, we have a zoning request in your packet, so Michelle.
So this is an application requesting a variance for the property at 1675 Yarnell Road to permit a carport which is located less than 10 feet further back from the street line than the rearmost portion of the principal building at the property. A hearing is scheduled for June 26th at 7 p.m. and the board has the option to take no official action, make a recommendation, or oppose the application. Typically, you take no action and let the zoning hearing board make their decision.
So with that said, is there any way forward you want to go with? Or do you want me to, without objection, refer to the zoning hearing board?
I do have one question. I was curious, did you just say the carport's within 10 feet of something?
Yeah, so the carport's considered an accessory use. An accessory use has to be 10 feet from the rearmost portion of the principal building, and 10 feet from the side and rear property line. So he's proposing to put it kind of almost right next to the house, but it's definitely not 10 feet from the house. So in that case, he needs a variance, to permit the reduced setback.
10 feet away from the house or 10 feet to the rear of the house?
10 feet to the rearmost portion of the house.
And 10 feet from the.
And 10 feet from the side and rear of the property line.
But the portion he's not complying with is, so essentially what the zoning ordinance does is establishes the back of the house as the setback. So from the back of the house, you have to go 10 feet further back to build an accessory structure. He's actually a little in front of the back. He's well behind the front, the house that's, the portion of the house that's closest to the street, he's way behind that, but he is closer than the rear of the house line to the street.
Who's behind them? Does anybody have an issue with this?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, he has a pretty big property, so he's pretty far from other neighbors.
I guess what I should have clarified my question. It has to be 10 feet from the back of the house, but between the carport and the shed is a 12, or carport in the house is a 12 by 15 shed, so he's more than 12 feet. Am I missing
So
something?
it has to be 10 feet from here.
So
this,
if you-
where this starts is not 10 feet from
So
here.
Don, if you look at, he's 100 feet from the road with the carport, and the house is 90 feet from the road and then 40 feet deep. So the house is 130 feet from the road, he's actually 30 feet in front of the house,
Right.
when he has to be 140 feet from the road.
Oh,
Right.
So that's the one, he's 100 feet from the road, so no one's gonna really notice.
So it's really just the back property owner says 60 feet?
No.
No? Okay.
So, if you look to the right, you have the plan in front of you there?
I'm just looking at it this.
Yes,
Okay.
so if you look, the house itself is 90 feet from the road and then 40 feet deep. So
Right.
that 130 is what he's gotta be 10 feet behind. So he's gotta be at 140, and if you look, he's actually 100 feet. So it's that line, so he's well without the required front yard, he's just not as far back as what the code requires for an accessory structure. So, as Trace, we discussed this a little before the meeting, if he would connect the carport to the shed to the house, it would meet setbacks completely. It's just because it's not connected, it's required to be 10 feet further back. Yeah. So, why force him to connect it? Let the zoning hearing board hear all this evidence, so.
I don't have a problem with that.
So with that,
I wanna just make it, I would say I'm for it if nobody else wants to give it to them.
I second that. I'm for it too. I hate people have to ask permission to use their own property.
So-
Just want a letter, just to clarify that, just want a letter to go to the zoning hearing board saying you support it?
Yep.
Okay.
all right, with that, we'll have Michelle and Eric put the letter in support of. Good to go?
Good.
Let me know who needs to do it. Yeah, the first and second.
Yeah, all in favor.
Yeah, the first, second, and the third, if I recall, so.
That's all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah. We're good.
Just let me know. I'll make a letter if you want.
Okay, new business B. This is it, you saw it in the open space report as well. This is a reservation for use of our facilities. Michelle, you want to talk this one?
Yeah, so a couple years ago, it was brought to our attention that if they are answering yes to any of the questions on the application regarding sound amplification, equipment, camping, bonfires, gardening, organized team or league sports, musical, theatrical, or other entertainment, soliciting of any kind, or activities which occur between hours of sunset, sunrise. The Board of Open Space has to approve the application for use of the pavilion, as well as this board. The Open Space Board did recommend approval, and Greg has signed off. And the reason is because they are going to have music, theatrical, or other entertainment, and I believe they're having a bouncy house, if I'm not mistaken. So, the recommendation for the Open Space Board to approve the application for use of Heather Place Pavilion.
Okay, I need a motion on that.
I'll make the motion to approve it as open space recommended.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Here in a second, more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. New business C, in your packet you see, the archery hunting areas and requests, going through channels through the Open Space Committee in expanding where we have the present day, system right now. I think, Greg, did we bring Matt?
Is Matt Hartzell here? No.
So, from the background of this, you see with all the maps there, the extended area. And you also see, if you look at the one with the matrix towards the very end, or the last map, you see the proposed areas, and you see the ones that are blank, that are currently being used. Greg, do you want to add anything?
The letter that I wrote that's in your packet, that's basically a summation of how this came to be, the request. Basically, we'd like to add 5 more hunters to the mix. Currently, the program is capped at 19. If we add these other areas, they'd like to add 5 more hunters, or a total of 24. The Open Space Board members each walked each area that was requested to hunt, and we outlined, I think it's in red on your map there, the areas of each parcel that we want to restrict the hunting to. We took into consideration use of the trail. There wouldn't be any hunters sitting along the trail. They would be back away. They have to follow all game commission regulations, which is 50 yards from any dwelling. And we also took into consideration, being able to get a harvested deer out without impacting any use of the areas. And this is only several months out of the year. The areas will be posted. We're in the process now of updating existing areas with signs that say archery hunting by permit only in these areas, so people will be aware. And we're gonna put on our website that some of these areas are open and the dates that they're open.
Okay, I was gonna ask that question, because right here it backs up against,
Yes.
okay, like, are these people gonna be warned not to let their kids
You
have?
won't even probably be able to see a hunter there.
It's just that if somebody does, to squash any kind of,
Yeah,
what we were
I
not
mean, I
told.
guess we
Just
go
a
to
couple
every
letters, that's what
website.
I'm
I
just
don't know
suggesting.
I don't know if we need to actually physically notify each owner.
Yeah, I don't
Listen,
know.
I wake up almost every morning to deer in my yard, that's my development, not my yard, my neighbor's. He has a very nice back, and this morning there were 2
You have,
there.
Turnberry has a website, right, a Facebook page?
A Facebook page, yeah, does everybody look at it, that's what I'm saying,
that's
you know,
the
like, there's
problem we
50
have.
million ways to
I
communicate
understand.
with people.
People say that, I said, it's on our page, it's on the township
Right.
page, well, they don't look at it. It's in
Right.
a public notice in the paper, well, they don't read that.
Nobody gets the mercury,
Yes.
I do,
sorry, Evan.
I do.
I'll stop quoting you.
But, thank you very much. Just saying, it comes right back to their property.
We
line.
didn't talk about notifying individual property owners.
Think about it, that's all I'm asking, is to think about it, just because it is right, Cecil Park's pretty, there's room, but there's a whole row of homes there. Just saying.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I mean, that is something I could
Just
I
those.
guess that is something that could be done as a courtesy since we are expanding the areas, but I'll seek input from the board on that.
Others?
So who's gonna take the call when they find, somebody calls and says, I got a deer in my yard with an arrow in it? You know, those things don't drop right away.
Happened to me.
Yeah.
And a
I'm a
couple
hunter
months
too,
later,
but I'm
guy
not a
came
very
out of
good
the
one.
woods and said, that's my deer. I said, well, I'm not gonna take it, I was dressed like this going to the dentist, so.
Deer's in my
But every
trampoline.
effort will be made not to lose a deer.
Yeah. I'm assuming archery is also a crossbow?
Yes.
My only concern is the proximity of the designated areas to the trail paths.
But a trail would be used in just about all instances to get to the hunting area and to get back out, but you're not gonna be allowed to hunt along the trail. Like if you were using a trail, you wouldn't see a hunter. Unless you caught him going in or coming out, you wouldn't see him while he's on stand. Most of these guys are gonna be in a tree anyway.
Are they allowed to put stands in there?
Yeah, and we actually, you'll put a stand up and it'll stay there for 2 weeks and the
Yeah.
hunters will share it. Matt, I'm surprised he's not here, he has this all laid out where everybody goes and where they're allowed to be in that area. And, they're all Upper Pottsgrove residents, they're all very cognizant of the rules and they're all very respectful. The program's been in place since 2017, and I'm not aware of any problems. This is probably the second or third time that we've been asked to expand it, and we've approved each request so far. This is the first time that it gets into one of our parks. Everyone else has just been unimproved and passed open space.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of deer in some of these areas. We've had complaints from residents that they're eating their hostas, eat their forks, and, you know, which, that's part of living in the country, if you will. But, there also a lot of dead deer out on Route 100.
Sure.
So Greg, you talked about, that they couldn't be 50 yards from a home, and that's a state requirement, so, but did you also say that they have to be so far from the trails? Is that one of your rules?
We didn't put that in
Yeah.
writing, but we can. We
Yeah.
have the application is in your packet there
Yeah.
with the rules of it. We can certainly add that.
I think that would
Yeah.
satisfy some of your
Yeah.
concerns, if you
That
just
could be
made sure
added.
they had to be so far from a path. And then the other question I had, I mean, this is all rules that obviously we're adding to it, so if there are an issue with areas in this year, or any areas that we expand to, and in future years, we could take those areas out.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the
Absolutely.
concern I had, is that I didn't want this to be something, if we know there's problems, we can't reverse it, so.
No,
Okay.
the board
Yep.
can do that at any time. I would suggest that all these areas, this would be a trial period. And if there's no issues, we could just make it, next year, we could make it a standing,
Perfect.
ongoing program.
Okay, I will need a motion to move forward with this.
I'll make that motion.
Hearing a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a second, is there further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Do you want-
Aye.
Sorry, do you want the motion to be conditioned upon adding the rule that they have to be so far from the trail? And what is that amount?
Yeah, we'll redo the application, that's where we'll put it.
Well, 50 yards, it's 50 yards from a structure, I think,
Yeah,
I think as long
that's
as
a
it's
game
reasonable.
commission
Yeah,
regulation,
exactly.
and we.
This isn't a structure, so when you want them,
Just
Is
clarify.
there some distance you would like to see? Just so it's a
Just
hard
reasonable,
limit in
yeah,
writing and we'll
yeah.
figure out the best thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we got the conditional piece in that, and did I get,
Got a first and a second.
the first thing, all in favor say aye. Aye. Against,
Do like
motion carries. New business D, this is for permit for the loop trail, Michelle?
Yeah, so, if the board remembers, we did apply for a PMRPC mini grant for phase 1 engineering, for the Hollenbach Loop Trail. As part of that grant, it includes permitting as a deliverable for the grant. So we're asking for permission to submit the NPDES permit, for the Hollenbach Loop Trail.
Need a motion for the permit?
Yep, motion is to
There, you get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Your motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Here in a second. Further discussion?
I guess, Greg, is this part of the bigger master plan?
Yes, it's phase 1A.
Grant, we got this grant through the county, or,
We have several grants here. We have Monco 2040, we have DCED,
Okay.
and we're working on DCNR.
so the funding sources is there.
It's there. We're 25,000 short for the first phase. We've already gotten over 450,000 in grant money. So Tricia's working on that last piece, but we don't need that to move ahead. We have enough money to do what we're gonna do.
So this is a module of the bigger master plan?
Correct.
Okay, we had a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.